The November rain painted gray streaks down the windows of Moonlight Café on Fifth Avenue. Olivia Bennett wiped down the counter for the third time that morning, her hands moving in practiced circles. The early shift meant fewer customers, which meant more time to think. Sometimes that was a blessing. Most days it felt like a curse. She had graduated top of her class from Columbia Architecture School 3 years ago. Back then, her professors called her a visionary. Her thesis on sustainable urban housing had won national recognition. She remembered the weight of the award in her hands, the flash of cameras, the proud smile of her mentor. That life felt like it belonged to someone else now. Today, she wore a green apron instead of tailored suits. Her hands that once drew blueprints now steamed milk and wiped tables. The architecture world had turned its back on her after the accusation. Plagiarism, they called it. Career suicide, the headlines screamed. Nobody asked for her side of the story. The door chimed softly. Olivia looked up to see him again. The man in the charcoal gray coat who came every Tuesday and Thursday morning. He always ordered the same thing: black coffee, no sugar, and a plain croissant. He never talked much, just a polite thank you, and a generous tip left folded under his saucer. She poured his coffee, the rich aroma filling the small space between them. Their eyes met briefly. His were dark and thoughtful, the kind that seemed to see more than they should. He nodded and took his usual seat by the window. Sebastian Hayes watched the rain through the glass. Most people in this city knew his name. Hayes Development Group owned half the luxury hotels in Manhattan. Forbes called him the youngest self-made billionaire in real estate. But sitting in this small cafe, he was just another customer seeking warmth on a cold morning. He had noticed her weeks ago. Not because she was beautiful, though she was. Not because she served coffee with mechanical efficiency. He noticed her because of her eyes. They held something he recognized, the look of someone who had survived a storm but still carried its weight. The unexpected encounter. The afternoon brought more customers. Olivia moved between tables, her smile professional, but hollow. She had perfected the art of being present while feeling invisible. It was survival. At 3 o'clock, her manager approached with nervous excitement. A last-minute private event had been booked at the gallery next door. They needed extra serving staff. The pay was triple her usual rate. Olivia agreed without hesitation. Rent was due in 5 days. The gallery was all white walls and expensive lighting. Crystal glasses lined silver trays. Women in designer dresses floated through the space like elegant birds. Olivia recognized the crowd immediately. This was her old world, the world that had exiled her. She kept her head down, focusing on her tray of champagne glasses. Stay invisible. Serve and leave. Collect the money and forget. Then she heard the laugh, sharp and bright like breaking glass. Victoria Chen stood at the center of a small crowd, her red dress commanding attention. She was describing her latest project, a sustainable housing complex that had just won a prestigious award. Olivia's hands tightened on the tray. Those were her designs. Every window placement, every green space, every innovative detail. She had shared everything with Victoria when they were friends, back when she still believed friendship meant something. Victoria had taken it all and claimed it as her own. When Olivia protested, Victoria accused her of plagiarism instead. With her family connections and expensive lawyers, Victoria's version became the truth. Olivia turned to leave, but fate had other plans. A guest stepped backward without looking, bumping her arm. The tray tilted. Champagne glasses crashed to the marble floor in a cascade of sound and liquid. The room went silent. Every head turned. Olivia froze, her face burning with humiliation. Then Victoria's voice cut through the quiet like a knife. "Oh my goodness. Is that Olivia Bennett?" Victoria approached with false concern. "Everyone, this is Olivia. She used to be an architect before she tried to steal my designs. Now she serves drinks. How the mighty have fallen! Laughter rippled through the crowd. Not loud, but cutting. The kind of laughter that comes from people who enjoy watching others suffer. Olivia felt her throat tighten. Her hands trembled as she knelt to pick up broken glass. "Careful, Olivia," Victoria continued, her voice dripping with mock sympathy. "We wouldn't want you to hurt yourself, though I suppose you're used to being on your knees these days." More laughter. Olivia's vision blurred with tears she refused to let fall. She had survived worse than this. She would survive this too. Just pick up the glass, stand up, walk away. Don't let them see you break. The defender. Hand appeared in her line of vision, picking up shards of glass with steady confidence. Olivia looked up to see the man from the cafe. Sebastian Hayes. He worked in silence, helping her gather the broken pieces. When everything was collected, he stood and offered her his hand. She took it, rising to her feet on shaking legs. He didn't let go immediately. Instead, he turned to face Victoria and the crowd, his expression calm but his voice carrying quiet authority. "Interesting story, Miss Chen." Sebastian's tone was conversational, but something in it made the room go still. "I'm Sebastian Hayes. I develop properties across this city. I'm always looking for talented architects. Miss Bennett, I'd like to offer you a position at Hayes Development Group. We need someone with vision and integrity. Based on what I've seen, you have both." Victoria's smile froze. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. James Porter, Olivia's ex-fiancé, pushed through the crowd with an oily smile. "Sebastian, let's not be hasty. Olivia has a complicated history. There were serious accusations." Sebastian finally released Olivia's hand but remained close, a silent wall between her and her accusers. "I'm familiar with accusations, Mr. Porter. I'm more interested in truth. And truth has a way of surfacing when people stop believing lies." He turned to Olivia, his dark eyes meeting hers with unexpected gentleness. "The offer stands. If you're interested, come to my office tomorrow morning. We'll discuss your future, not your past." Before anyone could respond, Sebastian guided Olivia toward the exit. The crowd parted like water. As they stepped into the rain-washed evening, Olivia finally found her voice. "Why did you do that? You don't even know me." Sebastian hailed a taxi with a simple gesture. "I know enough. I know you show up every day even when the world has been cruel. I know you carry yourself with dignity when others would have broken. And I know that sometimes the best people are the ones everyone else has given up on." The taxi pulled up. He opened the door for her. "Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. Hayes Tower. Don't let them win by staying invisible, Miss Bennett. Some battles are worth fighting." As the taxi drove away, Olivia watched him disappear into the Manhattan evening. For the first time in 3 years, something stirred in her chest. Not hope exactly, not yet, but something close to it. Something that felt like maybe, just maybe, her story wasn't over. Olivia stood outside Hayes Tower at 9:45 the next morning. The building stretched 40 stories into the clouded sky, all glass and steel ambition. She had changed outfits 3 times before settling on a simple navy dress and the only professional blazer she still owned. Her portfolio felt heavy under her arm, containing the few original sketches she had managed to keep. The lobby smelled of expensive marble and fresh flowers. A receptionist with kind eyes directed her to the executive floor. The elevator rose so smoothly she barely felt the movement. When the doors opened, a young assistant greeted her immediately. "Miss Bennett, Mr. Hayes is expecting you. Please follow me." Sebastian's office was surprisingly understated. No gold fixtures or ostentatious displays of wealth. Just clean lines, natural light, and walls covered with architectural renderings of buildings that actually served communities rather than just profit margins. He stood by the window, phone to his ear, but gestured for her to sit. "I don't care what the board prefers," he said into the phone, his voice firm but controlled. The community center includes the child care facility or we don't build it. That's final. He ended the call and turned to Olivia with a slight smile. Sorry, some people forget buildings are for people, not just portfolios. Olivia relaxed slightly. That's what I always believed too. Sebastian sat across from her, no desk between them, just 2 chairs and honest conversation. Tell me about your work. The real story, not the headlines. She hesitated. 3 years of silence had taught her to guard her truth, but something in his steady gaze made her want to trust again. So she told him everything. How she and Victoria had been roommates at Columbia. How they studied together, dreamed together, pushed each other to be better. How Olivia had shared her thesis project, her innovative designs for affordable housing that didn't sacrifice beauty or dignity. I thought we were friends, Olivia said, quietly. I thought she celebrated my ideas because she cared about me. I didn't realize she was documenting everything to claim it later. When did you discover the theft? 6 months after graduation. I saw her presenting my designs at an industry conference. Every detail was mine. The asymmetrical roof gardens, the shared green spaces, even the specific angle of the solar panels. When I confronted her privately, she laughed. She said nobody would believe me. Her family had connections, money, lawyers. I had nothing. Olivia's hands tightened on her portfolio. She filed a plagiarism complaint against me before I could expose her, said I was trying to steal her work out of jealousy. The review board included 2 of her father's old colleagues. My mentor tried to defend me, but the evidence was all digital timestamps that Victoria had manipulated. I lost everything in 3 weeks. My job offers vanished. My engagement ended. James said he couldn't marry someone with a ruined reputation. Sebastian listened without interrupting. When she finished, he stood and walked to a cabinet, returning with a folder. I had my team research the case last night. Timeline analysis of digital files, interview records, even social media posts from that period. Victoria Chen was sloppy. Her story has holes. He spread documents across the coffee table. Your original sketches were posted on a private student forum 8 months before Victoria's versions appeared. The metadata is intact. She covered her tracks badly because she assumed nobody would look closely. Olivia stared at the papers, her heart pounding. Why are you doing this? You don't owe me anything. Sebastian sat back down, his expression serious. 5 years ago, I was engaged to a woman named Rachel. Beautiful, charming, connected to all the right families. 2 weeks before our wedding, a tabloid published photos of me supposedly meeting with a married client in a hotel room. The truth was far simpler. She was selling her property, and we discussed contracts over coffee in a hotel lobby. But the photos were cropped and angled to look intimate. He paused, a muscle tightening in his jaw. Rachel leaked the photos herself. She wanted the publicity, the sympathy, the narrative of being the victim of a playboy billionaire. She sold the story for magazine covers and talk show appearances. By the time I proved the photos were manipulated, the damage was done. Half the city thought I was a cheater. Business partners questioned my character. It took 2 years to rebuild. My reputation. Olivia saw the old pain in his eyes. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm telling you this because I understand what it means when the world decides you're guilty before hearing your defense. And I learned something valuable from that experience. The truth doesn't always win immediately, but it never completely dies either. It waits for someone brave enough to dig it up. He leaned forward. I want to offer you something real, Olivia. Not charity, not pity. I'm developing a community wellness center in Brooklyn, low-income neighborhood, families who deserve spaces that inspire rather than depress. I need an architect who understands that buildings shape lives, someone who designs with heart, not just angles. The dinner invitation, Olivia accepted the project that morning. For the first week, she worked from a small office Sebastian provided, rediscovering the joy of creating without fear. Her designs flowed naturally, combining function with beauty, practicality with hope. Sebastian checked in daily, offering feedback that was thoughtful rather than controlling. On Friday evening, as she prepared to leave, his assistant appeared at her door. "Mr. Hayes requests your presence for dinner tonight. He says it's about the project, but also not entirely about the project. His words, not mine." Olivia found herself smiling. "Tell him I accept." The restaurant was intimate rather than showy. Soft lighting, quiet corners, food that tasted like someone's grandmother had cooked it with love. Sebastian arrived in jeans and a simple sweater, looking more relaxed than she had seen him. "I hate pretentious restaurants," he admitted as they sat. "Give me honest food over foam and tweezers any day." They talked about architecture, about childhood dreams, about the small moments that shape who we become. Sebastian told her about growing up in a studio apartment in Queens, how his mother cleaned offices at night so he could attend good schools, how he learned that wealth wasn't about having money but about having choices. "My first development was a renovation project in my old neighborhood," he said. "I could have torn everything down and built luxury condos. Instead, I preserved the character and made it affordable for the families who already lived there. Everyone said I was leaving. Money on the table. I said I was investing in dignity." Olivia found herself leaning forward, genuinely engaged. That's what architecture should be. Not monuments to ego, but spaces that honor the people who use them. Exactly. Sebastian's eyes held hers. "That's why your designs matter, Olivia. They remember that buildings house lives, not just bodies." The conversation drifted to more personal territory. Sebastian asked about her family. Olivia explained she had grown up in a small town upstate, daughter of a librarian and a high school teacher. They encouraged her creativity, supported her dreams, stood by her when the accusations came. "They never doubted me," she said softly. "Even when I doubted myself." "Good parents are rare gifts," Sebastian replied. "Hold on to that foundation. It's stronger than anything Victoria can destroy." As dessert arrived, Olivia noticed Sebastian's expression shift, becoming more serious. "I need to tell you something. James came to my office yesterday." Olivia's stomach tightened. "What did he want?" "He asked me to reconsider hiring you, said you were unstable, that the plagiarism case was real, that I was making a mistake." Sebastian's voice hardened. He also implied that if I continued supporting you, certain business relationships might become complicated. His father sits on several investment boards. "What did you tell him?" "I told him that threats don't work on me, and that his opinion of you says more about his character than yours." Sebastian reached across the table, not quite touching her hand, but close. "But I want you to be prepared. Victoria and James are connected to powerful circles. As you become more visible, they'll fight back. Are you ready for that?" Olivia met his gaze without flinching. "I've been invisible for 3 years, Sebastian. I'm tired of hiding from lies. If telling the truth means facing them again, then I'm ready." He smiled, genuine warmth breaking through his usual composed exterior. "Good, because I'm planning something that will give you a platform to showcase your real work. There's a citywide urban development gala next month. Industry, leaders, city officials, press coverage. I'm using my keynote speech to announce the Brooklyn project and introduce you as the lead architect." Olivia's breath caught. "That's enormous exposure." "It's also a target on both our backs," Sebastian acknowledged. "But sometimes the only way to defeat a lie is to stand in the brightest light and let the truth speak for itself." The following Tuesday, Olivia arrived at her office to find an envelope on her desk. No return address, just her name in elegant handwriting. Inside was a single card with a brief message. "Drop the project and disappear again, or everyone will know what you really are. This is your only warning." Her hands trembled as she showed it to Sebastian. His expression darkened as he read it. "Victoria's getting nervous," he said. "Good. That means she knows we're getting close to something she can't control." Should we go to the police? Not yet. This is vague enough to be untraceable. He studied the card carefully. But we can use this. Fear makes people sloppy. Let's give her something to really worry about. That afternoon, Sebastian's legal team filed a formal request to reopen Olivia's plagiarism case, citing new evidence of digital manipulation and timeline inconsistencies. The news spread through architecture circles like wildfire. By evening, Olivia's phone buzzed with messages from old colleagues, some supportive, many curious, a few hostile. James called 3 times. She didn't answer. Victoria sent a text. "You're making a terrible mistake. Sebastian is using you. Walk away before you get hurt again." But Olivia didn't walk away. Instead, she worked harder, pouring everything into the Brooklyn Community Center designs. Each drawing was a statement. Each choice was a declaration. She was no longer the woman who had knelt on a gallery floor picking up broken glass. She was the architect who remembered why she fell in love with buildings in the first place. Late one evening, as she finalized renderings, Sebastian appeared at her office door with 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might need this," he said, setting one on her desk. "You don't have to check on me every night," Olivia replied, though she appreciated it more than she could express. "I'm not checking on you. I'm choosing to spend time with someone whose company I enjoy." He studied her latest drawings. "These are exceptional, Olivia. This is the kind of architecture that changes neighborhoods, that gives people pride in where they live." She looked at him, really looked at him. This man who had defended her without knowing her story, who had given her a chance when the world said she didn't deserve one, who fought battles he didn't have to fight because he believed in something bigger than profit. "Why do you really care?" she asked quietly. "The truth." Sebastian was silent for a moment, choosing his words carefully. "Because I know what it's like to have your truth stolen and replaced with someone else's lies. And because when I look at you, I don't see a victim or a scandal. I see someone who refused to break, even when breaking would have been easier. That kind of strength is rare. It deserves to be protected." The air between them shifted, becoming something neither could name but both could feel. Not quite romance, not yet, but connection, understanding. 2 people who had survived their own storms recognizing calm in each other. "The gala is in 3 weeks, Sebastian said finally. "Whatever happens, there will determine how this story ends. Are you ready?" Olivia looked at her designs spread across the desk. Every line was truth. Every detail was integrity. "I've been ready for 3 years. It's time the world saw what really happened." Sebastian nodded, a small smile playing at his lips. "Then let's show them who Olivia Bennett really is." The Metropolitan Gala for Urban Development arrived with the first whispers of spring. The grand ballroom at the Plaza Hotel glittered with crystal chandeliers and the ambitions of New York's most powerful developers. Olivia stood in the corridor outside, smoothing down her emerald dress for the 10th time. The fabric felt foreign against her skin after years of casual clothes and coffee-stained aprons. Sebastian appeared beside her, elegant in a tailored black suit. "Breathe," he said simply. "You belong here more than half the people in that room." "I just keep thinking." "About the last time I was at an event like this," Olivia admitted. "The gallery, the broken glasses, the laughter. Tonight will be different." His voice carried absolute certainty. "Tonight, you're not serving. You're being celebrated." They entered together. Heads turned immediately. Whispers rippled through. Clusters of guests like wind through wheat fields. Olivia recognized faces from her past life, former colleagues who had stopped returning her calls, professors who had distanced themselves after the accusations. And there, near the bar, Victoria Chen, in a stunning white gown, holding court with a circle of admirers. Victoria's eyes found Olivia across the room. Her perfect smile never wavered, but something cold flickered in her gaze. Beside her, James Porter raised his champagne glass in a mocking salute. "They're planning something," Olivia whispered. "Let them plan," Sebastian replied. "We're 3 steps ahead." The evening progressed with practiced elegance. Dinner was served on china so delicate it seemed to capture light itself. Speeches began, each developer presenting projects that promised to reshape the city's skyline. Victoria spoke about sustainable housing, using phrases and concepts Olivia recognized as her own. The audience applauded politely, unaware they were celebrating stolen brilliance. Finally, Sebastian was introduced. He walked to the podium with quiet confidence, waiting for the applause to fade before speaking. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he began. "We gathered to discuss urban development, but I want to talk about something more fundamental: integrity." The room went silent. This was not the usual speech about profit margins and construction timelines. 5 years ago, I learned a painful lesson about truth and perception, Sebastian continued. Someone I trusted manipulated reality to serve their own ambitions. Photos were cropped, timelines were altered, and a narrative was created that bore no resemblance to actual events. It took years to rebuild what was destroyed in weeks. Olivia's heart pounded. She hadn't expected him to share his own story. That experience taught me to look deeper, to question narratives that seemed too convenient, to defend people whose only crime was trusting the wrong person. His eyes swept the room, landing briefly on Victoria. Which brings me to tonight's announcement. Hayes Development Group is launching the Brooklyn Community Wellness Center, a project that reimagines what affordable housing can be. It combines sustainability with beauty, function with dignity, and it's designed by one of the most talented architects of our generation. A screen behind him illuminated with Olivia's renderings. The crowd murmured appreciatively. The designs were stunning. Rooftop gardens cascaded with greenery. Communal spaces invited connection. Solar panels integrated seamlessly into architectural elements that also provided shade and beauty. Please welcome our lead architect, Olivia Bennett. The applause was tentative, confused. Many remembered the scandal, but not the details. Olivia stood, her legs unsteady, and walked to the podium. Sebastian stepped aside but stayed close. She looked out at hundreds of faces, some curious, some judgmental, some carefully neutral. This was the moment. The platform Sebastian had promised, the chance to reclaim her voice, the confrontation before. Olivia could speak. Victoria stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "I'm sorry, but I can't stay silent any longer." Her voice carried perfectly across the room, trained and theatrical. "Sebastian, you've been deceived. Olivia Bennett plagiarized those designs from me 3 years ago. There was a formal investigation. She was found guilty." The room erupted in whispers. Cameras that had been documenting the gala suddenly focused on the unfolding drama. This was the story they actually wanted. James stood beside Victoria, playing his supporting role. "It's true. I was engaged to Olivia when it happened. She became obsessed with Victoria's success, copied her thesis project, and tried to claim it as her own. When she was caught, she fell apart. I couldn't marry someone so unstable." Olivia felt the familiar sensation of the ground disappearing beneath her feet. The room seemed to tilt. 3 years of hiding, of rebuilding, of surviving, and here she was again, accused, mocked, silenced. But then Sebastian's hand touched her elbow, steady and sure. A reminder that she wasn't alone this time. "Those are serious accusations, Miss Chen," Sebastian said, his voice carrying authority that demanded attention. "Do you have evidence?" "The investigation report speaks for itself," Victoria replied smoothly. "Olivia was found guilty by a review board." "A review board that included your father's business associates," Sebastian countered. "But let's talk about actual evidence. Olivia, please show them your original sketches." Olivia's hand shook as she opened her portfolio. Inside were drawings she had made during her final year at Columbia, each one dated and documented. She had been meticulous about recording her process, never imagining she would need proof of her own creativity. Sebastian's team projected the sketches onto the screen. They showed the evolution of her ideas, from rough concepts to refined designs. Each drawing was dated 8 months before Victoria's supposedly original work. "These are easily faked," Victoria said, but her voice had lost some of its confidence. "Perhaps," Sebastian agreed, "which is why we also retrieved these." Another set of images appeared on screen, screenshots from a private student forum where Olivia had shared her work in progress with classmates, asking for feedback. The timestamps were clear and verified by the university's IT department. Victoria's perfect composure cracked slightly. "That forum was private. How did you access it? With permission from the university and every student who participated in those discussions," Sebastian replied. 17 former classmates provided sworn statements that Olivia shared her sustainable housing concepts months before you presented similar designs. 3 of them specifically remember you asking detailed questions about her work, claiming you wanted to learn from her approach. He advanced to the next slide. Text messages between Victoria and a graphic designer discussing how to recreate Olivia's hand-drawn sketches in digital format, how to alter timestamps, how to make stolen work appear original. "We found these on a backup server you forgot to delete," Sebastian said quietly. "Digital footprints are harder to erase than you thought." The room had gone completely silent. Every eye was fixed on the screen, watching Victoria's carefully constructed lie dismantle itself in real time. "This is a witch hunt," James interjected, stepping forward. "Sebastian has a vendetta because of his own scandal. He's manipulating evidence to make himself look like a hero." "Actually, Mr. Porter, you're mentioned in these messages too." Sebastian's tone remained calm, almost conversational. "Victoria texted you 3 days before filing her plagiarism complaint. Quote, James, convince Olivia to drop this quietly. If she fights back, we'll destroy her credibility completely. Your family's law firm can help make this go away. Your show." Response: "Already working on it. She trusts me. This will be easy." Olivia's breath caught. James had been part of it from the beginning. The man she had planned to marry had helped orchestrate her destruction. James's face flushed red. "That's taken out of context." "Then please, provide the context," Sebastian invited. "Explain how conspiring to file false accusations is somehow not what it clearly appears to be." No response came. James looked to Victoria, who looked to her father in the crowd, the wealthy developer who had used his influence to rig the review board. But even he seemed to recognize that no amount of money or connections could rewrite the evidence now displayed for hundreds of witnesses and dozens of cameras. The moment of truth Victoria's mask finally shattered. "You think you've won?" she hissed at Olivia. "You're still just a coffee shop waitress who got lucky. Sebastian will get bored of his charity project and you'll be nothing again." "No." The word came from Olivia, quiet but unbreakable. "I was never nothing. You tried to make me believe I was, but even at my lowest point, scrubbing floors and serving drinks, I had something you'll never possess: integrity." She stepped closer to Victoria, her voice steady and clear. "You stole my work because you couldn't create anything original yourself. You destroyed my reputation because you knew if I had a voice, everyone would see you for what you really are, a fraud who mistakes cruelty for strength." Olivia turned to address the entire room. 3 years ago, I stood accused and had no platform to defend myself. I lost my career, my engagement, my place in this industry, but I never lost my ability to create, to dream, to design spaces that honor the people who live in them. You can steal my drawings, Victoria, but you can never steal my vision, because vision comes from heart, and you've never had one." The room remained silent, but it was a different kind of silence now. Not judgment, but witness. People were finally seeing the truth that had been hidden for so long. Sebastian stepped forward again, his voice carrying to every corner of the ballroom. The review board that condemned Olivia Bennett will be formally investigated for bias and corruption. Hayes, Development Group is funding a complete independent review of the original case. Additionally, we're establishing a legal defense fund for designers and creators who face false accusations but lack resources to fight back. He looked directly at Victoria. As for Miss Chen's award-winning sustainable housing project, we have documentation proving every innovative element originated with Olivia Bennett. The architecture board will be notified. I imagine that award will need a new recipient. Victoria stood frozen, her white dress suddenly looking less like elegance and more like a flag of surrender. James had already started backing toward the exit, recognizing a lost battle when he saw one. "You can't do this," Victoria whispered. "My father will sue you into oblivion." "Let him try," Sebastian replied. "I've been building my reputation on truth for 5 years. Your father has been building his on intimidation and corruption. We'll see which foundation holds stronger." Security approached Victoria and James, not to remove them forcibly, but their presence made it clear the evening was over for the conspirators. As they were escorted out, cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions. The scandal they had tried to create around Olivia had become their own prison. The new beginning, an hour later, the ballroom had mostly emptied. Olivia stood by the windows overlooking Central Park, still processing everything that had happened. Sebastian found her there, 2 glasses of champagne in hand. "I don't drink champagne," Olivia said automatically. "Neither do I," Sebastian replied. "But tonight seems like an exception kind of night." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the city lights paint gold across the darkness. Finally, Olivia spoke. "Thank you doesn't feel like enough." "You don't owe me thanks," Sebastian said. "You did this yourself. I just made sure people were paying attention when you told your truth." "Why?" Olivia turned to face him. "Really, Sebastian, why did you fight so hard for someone you barely knew?" He was quiet for a moment, considering his answer carefully. "Because when I was drowning in lies, nobody threw me a lifeline. I had to claw my way back alone. It took years and cost me things I can never recover. When I saw you that night at the gallery, kneeling in broken glass while people laughed, I recognized that moment. The moment when you have to decide if you're going to let them win or if you're going to survive. And you wanted to help me survive." "I wanted to help you do more than survive," Sebastian corrected. "I wanted to help you reclaim everything they stole. Your reputation, your career, your right to create without fear." He paused, then added more softly. "And maybe I wanted to prove that not everyone in positions of power uses that power to crush people. Some of us remember what it feels like to be powerless." Olivia felt tears building, but didn't try to stop them. These weren't tears of humiliation or defeat. They were release. 3 years of carrying injustice alone, and finally, the weight was lifting. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now you design the most beautiful community center Brooklyn has ever seen," Sebastian replied. "You reclaim your place in this industry. You inspire other architects to create spaces that honor humanity instead of just profit margins." He smiled. "And maybe, if you're interested, you let me take you to dinner somewhere that doesn't involve galas or speeches or dramatic revelations. Just 2 people who understand each other, enjoying a meal." Olivia laughed, surprised by how natural it felt. "That sounds perfect." They left the plaza together, stepping out into the spring night. The city stretched around them, millions of lights representing millions of stories. Somewhere in that vast landscape, new buildings would rise from Olivia's designs. Structures that combined beauty with purpose, that remembered buildings were meant to shelter dreams, not just bodies. Behind them, the gala continued without them. But Olivia didn't look back. She had spent 3 years trapped in the past, defined by accusations and losses. Tonight, she had reclaimed her voice. Tomorrow, she would reclaim her future. Sebastian hailed a taxi, and as they drove through Manhattan's glowing streets, Olivia realized something profound. The billionaire's words at the gala hadn't been what left everyone silent. It was the evidence, the truth, the undeniable proof that lies eventually crumble under the weight of reality. But what truly mattered, what would echo long after tonight's drama faded, was simpler and more powerful. Someone had believed in her when belief seemed impossible. Someone had stood beside her when standing alone felt unbearable. And that quiet act of faith, that refusal to let injustice remain unchallenged, had changed everything. Not because Sebastian Hayes was a billionaire, but because he was human enough to remember that everyone deserves a defender when the world decides they're guilty. Everyone deserves a second chance when the first chance is stolen. Everyone deserves to be seen for who they truly are, not who others claim they should be. As the taxi turned toward Brooklyn, toward her small apartment, that would soon be replaced by something better, Olivia smiled. The past 3 years had taught her survival. Tonight taught her something more valuable. She had learned to fight back, to stand tall, to trust that truth, though slow, eventually arrives. And when it does, when justice finally speaks, its silence is more powerful than any lie ever shouted. The city lights blurred past the windows. Beside her, Sebastian checked his phone, already planning the next steps for the community center project. 2 people who had survived their own storms, now building something beautiful from the wreckage. This was how stories changed. Not with grand gestures or dramatic speeches, but with quiet moments of choosing to believe in someone when belief seemed foolish, with evidence gathered patiently, with truth spoken clearly even when lies seemed louder. They laughed at her tears once, mocked her fall, celebrated her silence. But what the billionaire said, what the evidence proved, what Olivia herself demonstrated, left everyone silent in a different way. The silence of truth arriving, the silence of justice being served, the silence of a woman reclaiming everything that was stolen and proving that dignity, once found, can never be taken again.